Hi, I'm RachaelLyn, and I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. Alright, this is the sick and tired tag that I found on YouTube from other budgeters, and if you would like to participate in this tag, please, or collab, whichever one it is. What's the difference between a tag and a collab? I don't know. Anyway, it's one of those things. I'm participating, and if you would like to as well, I'll have the questions down in the comments below, and you can participate along with me. Okay, so who am I? If you're not sure, I am RachaelLyn, and I post videos about my weight loss and debt-free journeys here on YouTube. I am a kindergarten teacher, and I am on Dave Ramsey's plan to become debt-free. Currently, I have about $170 something thousand worth of debt. 100% of that debt is student loans. $100,000 of that my parents are taking care of, because that is my undergraduate loans. I have to take care of my master's loans, and so I have about $70,000 that I'm really working on. But there's $172,000 in my name. So yeah, technically it's mine. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, number one, how long ago was your sick and tired moment? This is really hard to explain. Okay, so I've been following Dave Ramsey for a long time, but I have not been following his plan for very long. I have been budgeting very consistently over the last couple of years, and I did pretty well, and I didn't have a whole lot of wiggle room in my budget up until the last year when I moved home with my parents, and that was partially a big reason to move home with them was to start paying off my debt. And when I moved home, I thought, oh, I've got all this credit card debt that I need to pay off, and I'd like to buy a house, so I need to save up for a down payment. I'll move home for a little bit, pay off those credit cards, save up for a down payment, buy a house. That was my thought. And I paid off my credit cards very quickly, and I started saving, and I had a couple $1,000s in savings, and I finally got a letter that I actually stopped and looked at. Okay, I'm going into question number 2. So, I finally looked at this letter in January. So, January 2018. So, it's been about 5-6 months since I actually had my sick and tired moment. Even though I've been budgeting for a while, and I have been wanting to get out of debt for more than a year. However, I don't really consider all that change, or even following Dave Ramsey, I don't consider that my sick and tired moment, because January, I feel like I hit rock bottom, and there was a solid moment. When the rest of it, it's just kind of Dave Ramsey seeping into my life all throughout this time. And then January, there was a moment. So number 2, describe what happened that made you sick and tired of being sick and tired. So what happened was I looked at this letter that I don't really look at that often, and it came from my student loans, and I realized, oh yeah, I paid off my credit cards a few months ago. I have student loans that I had to pay off. I need to pay those off before I start saving for a house. So first thing I had to do was figure out how much I actually owed and who I owed it to, because I had several different loans from several different places for several different amounts, and I don't even know how much I took out originally and how much has built up in interest over time. And so yeah, that was the first step, and this happened in January. And once I actually figured out how much I owed, and that my loans were actually officially in default, which was really bad, that I owed $172,000, and I make $37,000 a year, and I live at home, and I can barely pay the bills. I mean, that's not entirely true, but I live at home, and, you know, I could barely even make student loan payments, and, you know, what if I had to live in my own apartment and pay for all those bills myself? Like, I freaked out, and I mean, there was a moment where I thought the only way out is if I die. I mean, and I would never go to extreme measures or anything like that, but like that was the thought that I had, because I'm getting choked up like thinking about it. I thought I was kind of like over it, but I'm not, because I'm getting choked up thinking about this moment. And just because there's no way that I would ever be able to pay back all this money that I owe. Yeah, it was extremely overwhelming. And I was just, oh my gosh, it was bad for a couple of days. It was really bad. But after it was bad, I got determined. That is where I decided, I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I didn't realize how sick and tired I was until I actually faced the problem head on and really looked at what the actual situation was. And it was really hard to do. Still, I didn't realize I would like choke up over this, but yeah. I just had to grapple with this extreme amount of debt. And I'm so thankful my parents are so supportive, and they promised to pay my college tuition back when I started college, and they continue to make that promise now, and they are so far living up to that promise right now. So $100,000 of that is my undergraduate loans. $72,000 of that is mine. And even just looking at that amount, $72,000 of debt, when I make like half of that in a year, and that's before taxes. They take out taxes. I don't make a whole $37,000. How in the world am I going to be able to pay this? I'm going to be stuck living at home for 20 years. I didn't want to live at home for a whole year. Well, I'm going to be at home for at least another year, so that'll be at least 2 years I'm going to be at home. I'm going to reassess my situation next summer. But anyway, I'm going into the future. I want to talk about that sick and tired moment. And so just this overwhelming fear. So fearful. I'm like still kind of scared when I think about it, but I've had time to process. I've had time to say no, and I'm not gonna let this get me. I'm gonna pay it off as fast as I possibly can. My ultimate goal is 5 years, even though even Dave Ramsey's calculator online even says it's going to be 20 or more years. No, it's not going to. It's going to be 5 or less, hopefully less. But yeah, there was a lot of crying, and I was just scared to death, really scared to death, because it's all student loans, and you can't declare bankruptcy on those. So yeah, I'm stuck, and don't make that much money. It was scary. All right, number 3. What changes did you make because of this? Okay, so I was already on a budget, but what I did was I started finding budget people on YouTube. I found Budget Girl. I think she probably like completely saved my sanity. Just seeing where she started making even lower of an income than I did, and while her debt amount was a lot less than mine is, with her making less money and she lived on her own, it seemed like a huge tackle for her. And I actually went back and watched like all of her old videos, and like watched just about every single one of her videos all throughout her journey, and then I also looked up several other budgeters on YouTube, and I just immersed myself in this budgeting world. And so even though I had already been budgeting, I revamped my budget. My current budget now looks similar to Budget Girl's. I kind of used her template a little bit and then tweaked it to suit my needs and what I want in a budget and what I like, as far as how my brain works and things like that. And I don't think she'd be mad about that at all. I think she'd be happy that I did that. So, and I changed the colors because I like different colors than her. So, So I revamped my budget. I made it much more detailed than it was. I also trimmed back every little bit as far as extra spending that I was doing that I could. I mean, I tightened the purse strings a lot. That was the first thing that I did. I made the phone calls and I called the student loans and I argued with them for weeks to try, not really argued, but just had to keep calling back to make sure that I was getting into the process and in the program of getting through rehabilitation, because all 3 of my loans were in default. I'm going through rehabilitation to get my loans out of default, so that's something else that I did. I started trying to make extra money in every possible way that I could think of. I do surveys online for money, made a couple $100s doing that over the last few months. I tried working, I actually work part-time at Keeneland and Churchill, and I try working out there as much as possible. Even when I know I'm not going to work, I still try to work. And I know that sounds confusing, but I made a video on that, on what it's like to try and work at Churchill and why I don't work every day and things like that. So if you wanted to check that video out, I would suggest that, because I go into much more detail. Let's see, other changes that I made. I just try to spend less money and try to make as much money as I can, and I kind of feel like a money hoarder sometimes, and that's because I'm not completely making extra payments on my student loans. Right now I am saving. I'm making my loan rehabilitation payments and I'm saving everything else so that when they're out of default, and lots of fees and other things should come off of my loans once they're completely out of default, and so I'm waiting to pay extra until all of that's gone. So once they're out of default, I'll be making big payments, or at least one big payment, and then I'll start making monthly extra payments. So yeah. And I mean, I've made other changes, and I just try to spend as little as possible, really. And I've changed my mindset. At one point I figured out, well, maybe I can do this in 10 years, and then I thought, you know what, maybe I can do this in 5. I might have to live at home for 5 years, but I could do this in 5 years. And then I thought, maybe I could do this in less time than that. I'm just going to keep on trying to do it in less and less time and just see how fast I can do it. That's my goal. And changing that mindset, I think that was probably the biggest change, really. Number 4, did your other half get on board with the changes? Well, considering there's this half of me and then there's this half of me, yeah. It's just me. I don't have to worry about anybody else. I do have to worry about this little thing right here, my little dog. She's on board. She doesn't care. As long as I give her all the hugs and kisses, she doesn't care. As long as she gets fed and she gets her shots and I take care of her, she's good. She's on board. She's going where I'm going, and she wants to be where I am, so she's a good dog. Alright, number 5. What do you envision your life being like when you meet your goals? Oh, I cannot wait until the day that I have paid off all of these student loans. Lucy will get a little brother or sister dog, and if she can stand it, she might get a little brother or sister cat, because I'd like to have a cat as well, but I don't know if she I think she doesn't like cats, so I might not be able to have one, but I'd like to have 2 dogs and a cat, so I'm not getting any more dogs until I live on my own, because I live with my parents right now. I have a dog, my parents have a dog, and my brother has a dog. My brother lives at home too. So we've got 3 dogs at the house. So I'm good on dogs for now. But once we move out on our own, I want her to have, another dog and maybe a cat. I want to have my own house, and I want to eventually be able to retire very comfortably, and retire at a young enough age where I can enjoy retirement and travel, and I want to travel even before retirement. I love traveling. I want to see everything there is to see. That is it for this tag/collab, and if you would like to participate, the The questions are down in the, not the comments, I think I said comments earlier, but they're down in the description box. And yeah, leave me a comment down below if you would like to participate in this, because I would love to watch your video. And also let me know if you ever had a sick and tired of being sick and tired moment. Let me know in the comments below what that was. I would love to hear it. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you are not already. My channel is about not just my debt-free journey, but also my weight loss journey. And I also might start posting a little bit about what it's like being a teacher and things like that. So, yeah, join me in this fun channel. And I will see you on the next one. Bye. I didn't know how it worked when I signed up for student loans, and I still don't really know how it works, and that's how I got in this mess. So anyway.